Welcome to Papa Gimmels Gets Inspired. It has been just over a year since I got my Inspire sleep apnea implant surgically installed in my chest at the second incision in my neck. I have been struggling with sleep apnea for many, many years and made a decision about 2 years ago to go with the Inspire sleep apnea implant. Really was my last choice as I was getting terrible sleep and not ever hitting REM, not having dreams, and not breathing quite a bit of the time. So just to remind you, if you're new to the channel, I started out using the what everyone used, the cpap machine, and was able to use that for a couple of years, about 10 years ago, and then is when I started. And then right before COVID, I was having a lot of trouble, probably 2019, with the actual CPAP device. Kept finding it wrapped around my neck, kept ripping it off, in my sleep. And when I went and did I did my sleep study prior to making the decision to get Inspire the following year. And the results I got was a 29.5, I believe, of AHI on my side, which is over 29 incidents of stopping breathing per hour on my side. And the number on my back, when I slept on my back, was over 48. That's 48 incidents per hour while sleeping on my back. So as you can imagine, the sleep I was getting was awful. I was waking up exhausted. I was waking up many times a night. I'd get, a wink here or there, half hour here, hour there. And so the real difference here was making the decision and learning about Inspire and deciding that, hey, I don't want to shorten my lifespan by not getting the proper amount of sleep and by not getting that, 7 to 8 hours per night, and really getting into what your body needs, which is that REM sleep that allows you to dream, allows your body to recharge its batteries, and allows you to wake up fully energized and ready to go for a long day. Where the alternative was that because of the horrible nights of sleep I'd had, I'd wake up exhausted, and by midday I was ready to go to sleep, but I still had a full day ahead of me of work and spending time with the family. So it became very difficult. And so I made that decision in early 2024 to get the Sleep Apnea Inspire Sleep Apnea Implant. And the surgery was done in July of 2024, and we're in July of 2025. So this is my 1 year update video. And so, I took down some notes. We'll go from this here, and really want to tell you about the long-term effectiveness of the Inspire device. So I've had it for over a year. It's been active for just under a year. My recovery and any new developments, and the impact it's had on my daily life and quality of life, my experience with the device itself and with the remote and how it works. And, as I started talking about really that comparison to pre-Inspire life. And finally, some advice for others about getting the implant. So let's go to the top, right? So I've given you my background. I didn't mention my age, so I'm 42 years old. And on the younger side of folks that get the Inspire, I think many people that get the Inspire implant are in their 50s to 60s, sometimes older. And that doesn't mean you can't when you're younger, because my surgeon did tell me that he had a patient as young as, I believe, 19 or 20 that had the implant because her AHI was so high. While my numbers are 29 on my side and 48 on my back before the implant, there are folks whose numbers are even higher than that, who struggle even more. So severe is considered at 30. So I was just below severe when on my side, but way above it on my back. So let's talk about the long-term effectiveness. So has it worked? I mean, that's the biggest question. That's why you're here. So yes, the short answer is yes, it works. And the sleep study that I did in January of this year, so that was 6 months after the surgery, 6 months after using it, so 7 months after the surgery, the sleep study I did came with the results of an AHI score of 7. So using the Inspire sleep apnea implant, I have 7 incidents per hour, where I used to have over 29 on my side, and over 48 of these incidents of stopping breathing while on my back. So does it work? Hell yes. A 7. My doctor had only, really given me hope of getting around to a 15 or less. That's what he considered success. I had seen a second surgeon who claimed he could get in single digits, but my original surgeon that did the work in July of 2024 last year was able to deliver. Now, if you've seen my other videos, yeah, I had complications. That was not great. So 2 days after my original surgery, I had to go back into the hospital and had a terrible experience in the ER because I did develop one of the potential side effects of the surgery, which is blood clots in my neck. And I had a whole bunch of them. And this neck swelled up to about 3 times its size and was practically choking me. So my wife brought me to the hospital, and long night of craziness ensued, but ultimately got me back to the other hospital where I'd done the surgery. And my original surgeon that did the Inspire implant fixed the mistakes that were made with what was turned into the hematomas in my neck. That was a rather quicker procedure than the original, and while it took quite a bit of time to recover, I'd say it took at least a month and a half to really start feeling like I was getting better. And I did end up taking short-term disability from work because, as I mentioned, I'm younger than most folks that get this. So, when complications arose, I did need that recovery time. But can I talk about the long-term effectiveness and honestly tell you this thing was worth doing? 100%. 100%. So my current AHI is a 7. Never dreamed it would get that low. So what does that really mean practically, right? How has my sleep improved over the past year? It's been tremendous. And I'll show you on the screen here. In editing, I'll add the images of what the Inspire app looks like. My success over the last year, and even just over the last month, where I've been averaging over 6 hours of sleep using the Inspire implant. I've been waking up fully refreshed, lots of energy, and I guess the amount of energy somebody my age should have, and it's been great. I'm not falling asleep in the middle of the day. I'm waking up rested. I'm having dreams, which I hadn't had in many, many years, and it really is an outstanding success story. Again, I'll caveat it with, there were complications, but if you do your research and you take a look at Inspire surgeries in the United States, you'll see every month there are a whole bunch of complications that happen, and the most common is a hematoma that develops because they are doing surgery in your neck, right? I think the easier part, and I did want to show you what it looks like, the easier part of the surgery is the implant here on the right side of your chest, so away from your heart, and you can see my scar here. This thing isn't going away. It's gotten lighter. It does have some keloids. But the implant device itself is sitting right here. It doesn't protrude out, as you can see. And the other part of what it's connected to, the electrode and all that, is up here on my neck. And I can't even feel the scar. It's really dissipated over here. It's very small compared to how it was in the beginning. And that's where most of the complications that I have seen when doing the research and making that decision myself to go through with the surgery were hematomas, right? That there was a tendency of that to happen. I think most people didn't have the complications I had with the ER visit that was made, but that also speaks poorly of the ER in this area that I live, and not my surgeon and the surgery that was done there. Other complications that are possible for folks, deal with infections and things like that, because it is surgery. Surgery is not 100% safe, right? Anytime someone's cutting into your body, there's a possibility of all kinds of things going wrong, but some as simple as an infection, or more complicated with the hematomas developing in your neck, or worse. But you have to make that decision for yourself. Is it worth it to you? Is your quality of life so bad as mine was with sleep that it affected my every part of my life, really? And I wanted the energy to hang out with the family, to work and put in the hours I need to put in my day job, and still have the energy for relaxation and entertainment, and not wake up at 11 p.m., 12 a.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and just get so frustrated that I'm out of bed and running on just a handful of hours of sleep in the past that were completely interrupted often. And now I'm getting up at most 2 times per night, but typically on average it's once or not at all, and I'm waking up fully energized. So yeah, the sleep quality has improved tremendously, and you'll see that in the results I'll share on the screen here. Okay, so continued recovery and any new development. So how did the incisions and the bruising heal? Completely, yeah, it healed. My whole chest was bruised after the initial surgery, and it was bruised throughout my chest, most likely because of the second follow-up visit when I developed the complications, because I was, put under at some point. I did have, it was in an ambulance. I did wake up, I guess, a couple of times and try to fight them off. So yeah, there was some bruising, but that took about a month or so to recover from. And the incisions here and here, as I showed you, healed completely. And have I experienced any further complications or unexpected issues? No, not after the 2 days after, when I did have the massive complications. So since then, I've had no issues. I use the Inspire device nightly. I think I might have missed a night here or there, and I'm currently on a 171 night streak of using the device. So even though it's been a little over a year, obviously I had a night or two that I missed, or maybe I stayed up and forgot to use it. I did do some international travel, so probably got a little mixed up in my schedule and maybe forgot to turn it on here or there. But I use it most of the time, and as I said, I'm currently at a 171 night streak of using it every single night. And so there were no other complications after the initial ones that occurred 2 days after the surgery in July of 2024. Adjustments made, yeah, they made adjustments. So you'll if you do the surgery, you'll find out that once it's time, so usually about 30 days after your surgery is when they activate the device. And to do that, you go in, you see your sleep doctor, and they connect some things to you. The Inspire representative is typically there as well, and they test and make sure everything is working properly, and then they turn the unit on and they test you at different voltage intervals inside the sleep center that you're at the doctor, and to see what works for you, what's too much. And then what will happen over the coming months is they will have you increase the voltage, and really on the remote you're just pressing plus to go to the next level. They'll have you do that once a week. Some doctors I've heard will have you do it every 2 weeks. So with me, we increased it every week until we got to a level where it became to be too much of a stimulus, and it was waking me up. So that's where you want to stop kind of one step before that. So it's working at its best. It's providing the stimuli that it needs to send the electrodes to your tongue in order to dart it forward. So when you're sleeping, it's pushing your tongue forward. It's not darting out of my mouth, because that would be, if you were at too high of a level, it would do that. But it does push it forward enough so that it clears what was happening in the past, which was my tongue rolling back when I was asleep and blocking my breathing. So it's working as designed. It's working really well. I have not seen my sleep doctor or really spoken to anybody from Inspire in a number of months. I mentioned earlier we did the sleep study in January of this year. It's currently July. And we finally, when we saw those results, and I agreed that I was at a level that made sense for me, that's the level that I've stuck to. And so currently I am at 1.3 volt. Level 3 is what it's at now, because they end up resetting the levels, and I'm at 1.4 volt is the current amplitude. Which, when you do that study, they actually change the remote to where I might have been at a 7 or an 8 as far as the levels before I realized that was the best level for me. But they kind of reset it so that in the future, if I need to go above 1.4 volts, I've got 7 other levels I can go to. So you'll see that in your experience as well if you go through with this. So yeah, it's working great. It's giving me lots of daytime alertness. My energy levels are great. And just overall well-being is also wonderful. And something you'll notice as well, if you've looked at my videos from a year ago or even prior to that, before I got the surgery, I weighed a bit more back then. And concurrently in doing this, I started before the implant. I started doing what everyone's doing, right? Using Wegovy, which I was using for a while, and then I switched about a little over a year ago to Zepbound, which has worked really great. And so while I've been on this journey of fixing my sleep apnea, I've also been on the journey of losing weight. And so I'm down, I think, like 45 pounds since about 2 years ago. And I also, as I'm doing this for my health and to improve my life, I also made another decision 2 years ago, which was to quit drinking. Didn't have a big problem per se, but I drank, probably daily. So whatever that means to you, that's been over 2 years. So June 23rd, 2023 was the day that I went sober. So that's been over 2 years as we're at July 27th, 2025. So celebrating a couple things here. So over 2 years sober, over 1 year since my surgery, and just about a year using the Inspire. Just under a year, about 11 months using it. So my experience with the device, it's very easy to use the remote and the app over time. Very easy. All you do is you grab the remote, and I've showed it to you in other videos. You put it against your chest, either before or while you're doing that. You can press the button that tells it that you want to activate it. Push the play button, kind of like press and play on a phone to listen to your music, or on an iPad. You tap it, hold it up against your chest. You hear the sound. The green blinking light turns solid, and that tells you that it's started its countdown, which you can set with your doctor. Mine, I believe, is set to 30 minutes. And in the middle of the night, if you do wake up, you press the button to pause it. You press it not on your chest. You press it, on the device. You bring it to your chest. It makes the sound to acknowledge that it's happened, and now it's on pause. So something, one of my friends on YouTube that also got the implant after I did, he mentioned a video I just watched the other day. He mentioned that there's been times where he's started to drive to work and completely forgotten that he paused the device because it'll turn on, and it's a really weird feeling when it's on. You don't really want to be awake. You'll see it when you're with the sleep doctor and with the Inspire person. You'll see what it feels like. I don't recommend it. You want to make sure that when you're done, you press the off button. You see the white light turn on to confirm a solid white that the device has been turned off, and you put the remote aside. Put it next to your bedside, on your bedside table, nightstand, and come back to it that night and try, turn it on again. So I've had no problems with it. It's been very easy to use. I'm trying to think, have I changed the batteries on it in a year? I don't think so. I might have changed them. I can't remember. I might have changed them before I took an international trip just to make sure that I didn't run into any battery issues while being out of the country. And so it's very easy. The app is great. You take a look, and it syncs through Bluetooth with the remote and in the app. And actually, here's something to point out. So the Inspire unit that I have is not the brand new one, which they just started doing a few months ago, which I think is the number 5. I think I'm on the number 4. It has a code name, which I don't remember right now, but I've probably shown it to you in the prior video. So take a look back at previous videos, and you can see the exact unit that I had installed. So I think the newer units, I've heard them talk about on their investor calls. I think they're going to have the ability to go Bluetooth from the unit inside of you to your device, and they're also working on being able to give you an AHI score. I can't remember if that's the newest device or one that's coming in the future, but that's something that'll be great to see as well. So, the one thing that if you haven't heard yet that might stop you right in your tracks if you don't have sleep apnea as bad as I did, is that you do have to get the battery that's inside of you, that's inside the implant, surgically removed and replaced every decade. So it's somewhere in that 9 to 10 year interval where the battery is going to be replaced. And at that time, everything I've been told by the Inspire reps and the doctors is that at that time, they upgrade you to the latest unit that goes in here. They're not going to redo the work they've done to send the electrode that goes from the unit up to my neck and connects to the area that zaps my tongue. They're not going to do all of that. That's pretty complicated, but they will replace the unit that's in here with the newest unit at the time, as long as it's compatible, which I hope it will be, and they've told me it will be, because as I said, I'm 42, so hopefully I've got at least 4 or more of these that are going to get swapped out over the next 4 decades. And hopefully they'll just improve over time. Okay, so where else? So I'm fully satisfied. I just got to say that. I'll keep saying it over and over. Fully satisfied. So how does it compare to pre-Inspire life? I've already told you about that. It's night and day. It's a lifesaver. One of the things that really scared me when I was considering in the final kind of days and weeks as it led up to my surgery date, and I was considering backing out and getting a little nervous about it. One thing that stuck in my mind is what I was told by multiple sleep doctors, which was if you don't address your sleep apnea situation, your severe sleep apnea, then you're risking cutting off an average of 10 years of your lifespan. And I thought that was a very selfish thing to do if I continued on this path and not address this. Not to mention the fact that the lack of sleep before the implant really takes a toll on your sanity, on your well-being, and on your physical health. So the other thing that was going on was that it was really preventing me from losing weight, from getting healthier with my body and my lifestyle, because I just wasn't getting that recharging of the batteries, that REM sleep that takes care of all of your vital body processes that happen when you're asleep. There's a reason humans have to sleep, and on average, should get around that 6 to 8 hours a night as adults. And it's very important to your body. And yeah, we spend a third of our lives asleep, but it's critical. It's critical to your life and to your having a well-lived life, is getting that rest and relaxation. Nobody can keep going night after night of year after year of having awful, awful sleep. The other thing I just remembered that I didn't mention is that, my wife is always trying to help me with this situation with the sleep apnea. And so, we actually, about a year ago, we bought an adjustable bed, frame and mattress and all of that. And so I wouldn't say we use it often. We don't raise it up and down very often. But sometimes, you wake up in the middle of the night, you have that one or two wake ups in the middle of the night where you pause the unit and you go, man, I could really use a higher angle. And I'll bring it up slightly. I'll bring the bed up. And that's also something that, if you've read about and you've researched sleep apnea, your pillow can make a difference depending on how bad your situation is. Your bed and your mattress and the angle of how you sleep can make a big difference, because really, if you're sleeping flat or you don't use a pillow or you use a very soft one and you've got bad sleep apnea, the tendency is that your tongue's going to roll back and block your breathing. And that is where you get the loud snoring. That is where you get the stopping of the breathing, which, again, if you watch an older video, you'll see that I talked about that the other alarming thing that happened when I was making this decision is I learned that at one point I had stopped breathing during the at-home sleep study for almost a minute and a half. Now, can you imagine what that's doing to my brain cells, to my body, and to not bring in oxygen for up to a minute and a half? I didn't even know that was possible, but that's what was going on. So I had to address it, and I'm overjoyed with the results, and I do highly recommend it, to everybody. And so these are the biggest differences, that I've talked about that I've noticed. And my advice for someone who's considering an Inspire implant, regardless of your age, is, one, talk to your doctor. Your doctor is going to, if you tell them you're snoring a lot, you're having trouble sleeping, they're going to send you to a sleep doctor. That sleep doctor is going to offer you a sleep study either in their facility or at home. Typically, that decision might be made for you by your insurance. It's much cheaper for them to just give you the equipment or send it to you, and you use the at-home equipment to test how you're sleeping. I did that. I've done the in-person. I've done the at-home. It's still going to get you pretty accurate results whether you do it there or at home. And so at that point, within a couple days after your sleep study, your sleep doctor will reach out to you, or they'll set up a follow-up appointment, and they'll go through and tell you the details of how many incidents of on the apnea-hypopnea index you had that night, how many per hour, how many you had on your side versus on your back, and how many hours of sleep you got, how many times you woke up, how many times you stopped breathing, and for how long. So all those things are going to be measured and shared with you, and then they'll make a recommendation for you. And the first step of every insurance is going to be to try the CPAP machine. That has been around for many years. works for some people. It worked for me many years ago. And at some point, a few years back, it stopped working for me. And so I needed a new solution. And so those are the steps they're going to have you take. There are also other surgeries that can be done. You can, one thing that my doctor talked to me about, the surgeon that did the implant, was there was a surgery that could be done that would like break my jawbone, remove things inside my nose, remove things inside my mouth, all kinds of crazy facial surgery that I was not willing to do. The recovery time was going to be pretty bad. The pain level, once the meds wore off, was going to be much worse than getting the implant in your chest and being put to sleep while they do it. When I woke up from the surgery for those first 2 days before the complications arose in my neck, I didn't have any chest, major issues or major pain. If you look at the Inspire promotional material and you watch videos, quite a few folks have no side effects at all, and they go back to work within a couple of days. That wasn't my story, but it might be yours, right? So those are all things you need to consider. And, your insurance will only cover this if you've tried just about everything else. So they're not going to start you with the implant, right? That's not their first resort. First resort, it could be medication, could be, changing your mattress, your bed, your pillow, putting on the fighter jet mask, the CPAP unit, and you'll try all that. And you have to fail at it before any insurance will cover the Inspire surgery. So as far as recovery process, I would say, if you have complications, you don't know that you're going to have them, right? So you don't plan for it. I didn't plan to take a couple of weeks, a little over a month off of work to go on short-term disability. That's not something somebody plans, especially, when you're looking at the promotional material, you're watching people's videos. Most people don't have a problem. I unfortunately had one, right? And so what I would suggest for you is think about when you're scheduling this surgery, if you had to go out on disability or you had to take vacation time to recover, maybe plan ahead and pick a time when it's not the busiest time at whatever work you do, where, you can take that time. Now, obviously, disability is not something people typically plan for, but I'm recommending you do, that you plan for the worst case scenario, not the absolute worst case scenario, but the worst case scenario with this and having complications, which again, I still highly recommend getting it done, even if you do run into complications. As long as you get those complications addressed immediately when you start feeling things that don't feel right, which for me was tremendous neck pain, my neck inflating to 3 times its size, the feeling of someone choking me when that was not what was going on. Those are things that make you freak out a little bit and head to the hospital. So it was a good thing that I did that, even though it wasn't the best experience. But ultimately, I would recommend plan ahead, plan for the time off if you're going to need it. I would automatically take at least a couple days off, maybe even a week. If your work involves manual labor, which I don't do typically, I'm someone that works in the technology field, so at most I'm typing away and using my computer, maybe walking around, making visits and spending time with my employees out in the field where they work, but I'm not carrying heavy things on a regular basis. But if you do, then you're going to need a lot more time to recover, because your doctor will tell you that they don't want you carrying anything heavy for quite some time. Depending on the surgery, they don't even want you raising your arms above your head for at least a couple of weeks, maybe even a month. So plan for that. So if you're someone who works with their hands, someone who carries heavy things, you're going to want to take some time off, or you're going to want to make it obvious to your employer that you are not going to be able to do that type of work, which might, they might in turn tell you, well, you should probably take some time off or take disability, because if that's your job and you can't do it, then what are they going to have you do? So anyhow, Inspire Sleep Apnea Implant update. It is July 27th, 2025. I am a big fan of this Inspire implant. It works for me. If you have any questions, please comment and I'll get back to you. And please like and subscribe and share. Tell your friends, and if you have someone in your life who is considering doing something about their sleep apnea and the CPAP machine is not working for them, I highly recommend taking a look at my videos and looking into Inspire and talking to your doctor about that. So I am a success story. I consider it a success story. Anyone could have had complications, but the important part is I recovered from that, and I've been using this effectively for almost a year, and it's wonderful, and it's a life changer. It's a game changer. Those are overused terms, but I am very pleased with it, and I highly recommend it. Thanks again for tuning in. I hope this was helpful to you. Let me know if I didn't answer any questions that you're still interested. Just drop a comment on there, and I will get back to you. Thanks for watching. Papa Gimmels Gets Inspired.